Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're here today for spoiler day 2 for Trailblazer Reloaded, and let's get right into it. All right, so we're at day 2, and we've been revealed some passive effects. Now, if you watched my previous video, under Trickster, we were missing that passive effects. We now have some of that information, though we don't know what tiers it applies to, but I'll get into that as we go into the slides. And today I've been running a little late, so I'm just going to kind of rapid fire through the video and give you all the information you need in hopefully a short amount of time and kind of keep it short, because today's reveal was a little bit small, even though it's really impactful, really important one, and we'll get right into it. So first of all, minigame points multiplier. Now this is going all the way up to 8 times. Now we don't know what tiers we're going to get these points at. So I'm assuming at tier 1, we're going to start at the 1 times multiplier. And I do have a prediction at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that, where I think these are going to line up, and I'll give you my reasoning as to what tiers of relics are going to line up to and why, but we'll get there in a second. Most notable ones in here, my favorite definitely is going to be Mage Training Arena. I'm definitely unlocking the desert, so getting the 8 times point multiplier will turn that grind, for infinity robes and boots and everything else down to a really short amount of time. That's going to be massive. Another one to keep in mind are things like Pest Control and Soul Wars, where you can turn, points into experience. Also getting them at the mini games is going to be huge, just to get, Goddard pearls and things like that. You're just going to be able to unlock the full sets faster. And, Pest Control Void is going to become really quick, even though it is it's pretty quick as you get more combat achievements, but we are going to be limited by how many combat achievements we can get. But this is just going to make everything super fast. So don't shy away from mini games, especially when you unlock the last 8x multiplier. I think it's going to be super impactful. All right, Slayer points. Now, we've seen this in Shattered Relics as a relic, where you got the pick your own Slayer monster, you got the boosted points, and I believe the boosted superior rates. So now this is just pretty much coming back, but now it's just a passive buff for everyone, so you don't need to select this relic. Just keep in mind that all the point rates are at Duradel rates, which are already great. They're better than most other Slayer Masters, obviously not Konar or the Wildy, but, it's still really good rates, and you're able to, kill your monsters super fast with the relics. So this will be really quick. Now, we don't know whether you're going to be able to select your own Slayer task, if that's going to come as a part of other relics. Maybe there's like a monster hunter relic, which allows you to pick your own Slayer tasks, in addition to, killing a specific monster in a certain way to give you some multiplier, added benefits, who knows. But that's just a thought. Just a reminder, you do need to unlock bigger and badder most likely to get the superiors in the first place. But once you've unlocked that superior, you're going to be getting them at the boosted rates once you unlock that tier of relic, right? Cool. Stackable Clues. Now, we saw this in Shattered Relics. This was awesome. It pretty much means that, especially early on in the game, when we start, we're only going to have access to fairy rings. So getting teleports around the map, even to do like a beginner clue that kind of brings you to maybe Varrock and then back to Lumbridge and back and forth, until you get like maybe Last Recall and, unlock the first few magic levels and buy your first few, law runes. Teleporting is going to be a little rough, but you can start just stacking your clues from day 1. And this is going to be great because as you kill monsters and, you do Puro and get all kinds of clues of all the different tiers, you're just going to be able to stack them in your bank, and then when you feel like, just go blast a bunch of medium clues, and hopefully with the boosted drop rates, you'll get lucky and get your rangers pretty early. Boosted drop rate multiplier. Now, this is massive. Just to give you some context, in Shattered Relics, we got up to 3 times the multiplier. Now, if you want the full drop rate table of all the affected monsters, definitely check out the wiki and the Discord page. Pretty much what happens is certain monsters have certain unique drops, and those are the ones that are going to be impacted by these multipliers. So, for example, getting like killing General Gerardor and getting Bandos Tassets or Bandos Chestplate, you're going to have 5 times greater chance to get each of those pieces, right? So that's going to be massive. And I'll kind of give you my guesstimate as to when you're going to unlock this in the tiers. Again, it's going to be a prediction, but again, this is so much more than we had last time. So going dry on some of those tasks is almost going to be nearly impossible. I'm not saying that. I'm sure there's going to be one person who just rolls the unlucky die every time. But that's just, sometimes how the slot machine works, right? Cool. All right. So now we got all those in. I have a quick prediction for you guys as to where those tiers are going to unlock. Now, just keep in mind, this is just my prediction. This is based off of looking at the past 2 leagues and just kind of, thinking, okay, this will go here, this will go here. Remember when we had Trailblazer before, that only had 6 relics tiers. This time we're going to get a 7th one. Now in Shattered Relics, we did have 7 fragment slots. So that is going to line up a little bit closer to that. So I'm kind of mixing those 2 tiers and unlocks and giving you guys my predictions. So let's get right into it. So at the first, we're going to start off with the lowest ones, right? 2 times drop rates, points and Slayer points. Now keep in mind, there are going to be XP multipliers all the way throughout. We don't know what they are exactly, but it's going to start at 5x and it'll probably end at like 16 times the multiplier. They haven't spoiled that yet or what those tiers are. I'm guessing they're going to spoil both of the tiers and the experience rate multipliers at the same time. So pretty much we're going to start at the most basic one, the normal, kind of game mode, just with like a 2x drop rate multiplier. Then on from going into tier 2, we're gonna get 3 times the points. I think the mini games and then the drop rates are gonna kind of be mixed and matched, and that's why you see me 3 times points and 3 times drop rates. And then tier 4. So tier 4 is when we in the last Trailblazer League we had the Slayer point relic. So that's my guess as to it's gonna get unlocked at tier 4. Also, you're not going to be doing too much Slayer early on where you're really going to want the points and the superiors to kill those monsters. You're still going to be relatively early. So as you get closer to the mid game, you're more likely to kind of be at the tier 4 relic mark. And that's why I kind of think that Jagex is going to align that to that milestone, right? You're pretty much at the medium tier of Slayer levels, and you have a decent amount of items to kill superiors. You have your overhead protection prayers. So tier 4 is like a great time to kind of unlock that, and that's why I'm gonna think it's gonna hit that tier 4 slot. Tier 5, again, we're going right back into the drop rate multiplier, and then tier 6 is gonna be the points, and then lastly tier 7 is the drop rate. Now we never had a drop rate this high before, so that's why I'm thinking the 3x drop rate is going to come out pretty early. The 4 and then the 5 are going to be staggered throughout. This is pretty much to fix the people who are going dry, right? And this is the people who are grinding the endgame bosses, trying to look for that T-bow, that Torva, whatever it is, right? In order to fix that, for once you've unlocked all the relics and kind of expanded all your main, early mid-game stuff and you're getting into that late game, that's when you really care about that 5x multiplier. So that's going to be at the end. The reason I put the 8 times point multiplier at tier 6 is because over time, those games will fall off. With the XP rates, the way they are going to be, you're going to be getting crazy amount of points that even if you're doing the mini games for experience, you're probably not going to continue doing them closer to the end game. And that's why I think it's a little bit more impactful, just a little bit earlier than the tier 7 multipliers, right? And I'm thinking that Jagex is really trying to help us and make the game progressively more fun without trying to hinder us too much. So that's why I'm thinking tier 6 is going to be the earlier 8x points and tier 7 is going to be the 5x rates. Again, this is just a prediction. When Jagex reveals this, I'll take my prediction and we'll compare it to the real results. But that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you want to follow along to my analysis of all the daily spoilers, be sure to subscribe. If you like this video and you found it helpful, give it a thumbs up. If I spoke too fast, just leave a comment below and I'll try to slow it down next time. Again, it's just been a really busy day, been working, had a lot of things going on, and thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.